And the next dish that I want to talk about is also super seasonal too. It's first of the asparagus, or first of the season asparagus. But I wanted to have like, this progression of flavor. So super simply peeled and blanched green asparagus. There's some purple asparagus that's like really lightly cooked. I think cooking purple asparagus too much, you get rid of a lot of the liquid. And then there's some pickled asparagus. And I think that's like a really cool component to like plant forward and plant-based cooking is like, well, at the end of the day, it's just asparagus, but you have like this progression of asparagus. It's in 3 stages. The white asparagus season in particular is like really short, and because it's white, I think it makes really great for like pickling. So I'm doing a dish that was served yesterday, and it was super delicious. The asparagus mosaic from Google Food, I believe. So shout out to them. Instead of using prosciutto and nori, I'm using paper, as you'll see. And for this dish, I cut off the tips, because these can be used for a salad, this can be used for like a different dish. I have them like mandolin here, or just garnishing the dish a little later. But essentially, you have like a couple of pieces of rice paper here. Some water. It doesn't really have to be, really cold or really, really hot. Any water will really do. And I get like it generally wet here. If I know typically you dip rice paper, but for me like that, it gets really sticky to work with. It hydrates really quickly. So like how I kind of got inspired by this dish was obviously spring rolls, but like having like terrine as well. And then I like having like some of the fat like around it. This kind of reminded me of like caul fat, and it's probably not like the sexiest way to like describe it, but the texture of it like really reminded me of something that was like really meaty. So this is essentially the asparagus type. And I'll cut a few more tips out. And then from the other dish that we made, the risotto, the leek tops will come into play in a split second.
How much of because you're a very innovative chef, clearly, and you did lots of work with wasted food. So like how much of your inspiration comes from that, sort of using like you're pulling off the tops to use for something else, like using pieces and different varieties of the same thing for different things?
Right.
Like how much of that comes from this, like that kind of sense of efficiency and using the whole thing? And like where does the inspiration come from? Is it the seasons and what's available around you?
I think it comes back to like where a lot of us started cooking, like in a French kitchen. It's like when you're throwing out food, you're throwing out money, you're throwing out like opportunity, you're throwing out like the work that someone did like on a farm to pick it, that someone drove and to drop it off to you. Wasted food is wasted resources in a lot of different ways. But also like in a French kitchen, I mean, there's not a lot that's like really thrown out like as well. They get more water on here. Thank you, Chef Rebecca. But there's not a lot that's like thrown out, like carrot peels or even like asparagus peels. I worked in a kitchen where it was like the base for like a veloute, like essentially. So a lot of it, for a lot of different reasons. And as you can see here, like I kind of roll one and then like keep rolling, put it here, and keep rolling. And then I try to go with like different colors. And then right on the bottom when you can. But yeah, I think a lot of it does for just a lot of different reasons. And it's also, to some extent, it means like wasted flavor, like especially in the context of like root to stem cooking and like, all parts of an animal, all parts of a plant. So yeah, I think it's just the right thing to do. Also like at the end of the day, it's just the right thing to do, the smart thing to do, it's the ethical thing to do. And yeah, it's definitely something that I want to see a lot more in the future, like as well too. And we're seeing a lot of it too, like with, whether it's fine dining chefs or whether it's, like people, like baby carrots, for example. Like there's a waste byproduct and that turned into baby carrots. So yeah, tater tots, arancini, so. Yeah, so we're almost done wrapping this guy.
So I have a couple of questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Someone is asking for tips for incorporating plant-forward dishes on a mass scale, like in a university dining setting where there are limits based on what the distributor carries.
I'm sorry, what was that? What's the last part of
No,
that?
that's okay, because I feel like sometimes when we're doing these demos, it's super easy for people to be using their hands, talking
Yeah.
and moving. And this might, maybe we hold off for a second while you're rolling that.
Oh, no.
You feel
I
good?
remember it was,
Okay,
was
so
trying to
tips for
incorporate-
incorporating plant forward dishes on a mass scale. So like if you're
Yeah.
working university or high volume food service.
For using plant-based offerings, I mean, I think like getting like the dried bean component to it and like soaking it overnight is like one way of doing it so that it has like a better shelf life. And then these are just like the leek tops. This dish in particular would probably be harder to do like in at a mass scale for like universities, but I think the fava bean risotto would be something that can be cooked in like pretty big pots or like multiple pots at like different times. So yeah, that's I think like when you think of like stock pots and like what can go in there or like what can go in like a rationale oven. So essentially just like big batch cooking. A lot of it is like naturally plant-based or like a vegetable tagine, I think is like a really good example like as well too. So yeah, those are some of the dishes that I like that come to mind for me when I think about like scalability. And then also when I think about like, you know, how to have like diverse offerings, especially like in a university like setting format. Yeah, great question now. So essentially, instead of the nori, like was presented yesterday, these are just the leek tops. And I roll. And then I go the other way. I try to roll pretty tightly. And then, like, for example, like this dish can be like stored for a couple of days. It's pretty prep heavy, but it makes the picks like really easier. And then I actually leave like one side pretty open because I like to slice through. And I like to check out like, oh, how to go, there we go. Yeah. And then for this one, essentially, you have here, and I leave a little bit of the rice or the plastic wrap like on the bottom. And then, yeah, there's a few different ways to plate it. You can get like really creative. You can keep adding rice paper if you wanted to make like almost like a carpaccio sized one. And same here, if you wanted to even do like two, pretty easy. Continuing with the seasonality theme, this is Meyer lemon and brown butter béarnaise. This works really well with like an ISI canister. It works really well like there's a puree in the bottom. I've worked in restaurants that basically have like 20 dots on the plates, and it's just like a habit like of mine. This is a vegetable demi-glace made with morel mushrooms. I think like asparagus, like in this case like regenerative eggs, and then also morel mushrooms are really pretty classic, but just a few drops. And then me personally, I like a little bit like on the actual asparagus itself. Of course, you know, trying to get as much seasonality in here, like getting the asparagus tips.
And I have a question for you. So I was at Phil's pop-up dinner and he served this.
Yeah.
And to me, it was, I need to know what you did to those leeks because so when I've had dishes before that have leeks in them, sometimes it can be super messy. Like I was really like, oh my gosh, I have to try to do this and not make a mess in front of all these strangers. And it was just really easy to bite through that leek. And so
Yeah.
like, was there any special techniques or?
Right. Yeah. One part that like will take a little bit of time, like here at demo, is we typically steam it like in a combi oven, and that way it like really softens it up. I think generally we can all can agree most of the time like onions and different alliums like taste a lot better cooked, whether they're like charred or like really incorporated into risotto, and in this case really like soft and tender leek tops like too. So that's, yeah, thank you for asking that. And the shout out of coming to my pop-up. So, yeah.
This dish is ultra beautiful. They both are, and they're colorful, green, and I think really kind of showcase the idea of plant forward presentation. How do you think that the presentation affects people's taste and perception of the dish?
I think it's I wouldn't say it's like super crucial, but it certainly helps. More color, as we were talking about this morning, means more flavor. It typically means more nutrients. So that's something that we think about like as well too. It's we want our plant forward dishes to be like really fun and engaging and really like inviting and something that pops to the eye, like grilled purple cabbage or roasted Romanesco for green in the spring. Hopefully, like in this case too, maybe with some more purple asparagus. But I think that definitely helps to attract people there, and that's usually the hard part. I think for all of us or tastemakers, like we can get people to come back to like a certain style of vegetable forward cuisine once they have the first taste. But getting that first taste, you got to make the painting look good. So yeah.
And we have two more questions from the audience. Larissa wants to know how we should steam the leek without a combi oven.
Thank you, Larissa, because at my pop-up I didn't have a combi oven, but I did have a rice basket, like so things you steam like tamales or like bao buns or steam buns in. A little like if you have a wok, like even better. But like hot water, keep it sealed. And I mean because the asparagus still has a little bit of a bite to it. It's just really quickly blanched. Or purple asparagus has like a really quick grill, or even if it's smoked. You're not going to lose the flavor. It's all going to be pretty concentrated, like in there. So yeah, great question because we're talking about accessibility as well. Yeah.
And then also, is there another veggie that could be used in this mosaic?
I originally thought of parsnips because there's so much you can do to parsnips. I do like this unique take on a parsnip pastrami, and I was trying to like deconstruct this dish, but it being spring and a couple Saturdays ago at the Fair Building Farmers Market in San Francisco, I was like, oh wow, like we're finally getting like purple and white asparagus, and that's where all the ideas came. And I was like, well, let's just use all different types of asparagus. I only know of like one or two different types of parsnips, so yeah. This also really works well with salsa feed, if anyone's familiar as well too. I did a different dish with salsa feed for a pop-up recently, and we do it at work as well. But I think salsa feed worked really well because it's like the oyster vegetable and it has like some of that like briny type flavor, but even better if it's like poached in like a mushroom kombu dashi, would be pretty cool. But, to the earlier question, that's a lot more work. It's a little harder to get salsa feed. It's kind of more of like late winter, like maybe early fall or maybe early spring. But asparagus, green, California, Delta asparagus, Zuckerman Farm, like that's where we get our asparagus, and that's really what we wanted to highlight. So, yeah.
And then we have one last question.
Keep them coming.
Do you find yourself educating your guests through your dishes? And then I would add on to that, if so, what kinds of things are they wanting to know about, or what is new learning to them?
I think it's the nutritional aspect of it, that protein doesn't always have to come from an animal-based product. Flavor can come from a lot of different sources, and it's really in the eye of the creator. So just really talking openly about the dishes. It's even better when they can reflect to me and educate me about some of the dishes they grew up eating, so I kind of get a better frame of reference. And it's even better when they can say well, I'm from, you talked about how your mom was from Lebanon, you had certain dishes. I'm oh my God, now I'm gonna research into those cuisines. I'm gonna research into those cuisines, and that's gonna be my next challenge for my staff and I to think about what can we do creatively, what can we do to take it to the next level, there.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks to Phil Saneski for an informative demo, for sharing your dishes with us, and to Giselle for some wonderful questions that helped us learn a lot. So thank you both very much. And so now it's my pleasure to bring back, you saw Cheryl to you in that informative conversation yesterday. So we're going to bring her back. And do we have our chefs from Bacoa? Are they back there? Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. So they're getting mic'd up. So while they're doing that, I just want to say that we here at the CIA are so appreciative because if you sort of pick up on our model, we usually invite one chef, even if there are more than one chef who really make a restaurant. And so that's our budget model. And so we reached out to Bacoa and said, you know, we're so sorry, we know there's 3 of you, but we'd love to just have, we could only ask one to come and do the, you know, the demo. And then I knew on our first call, so Raul Correa said, yes, he'll do it. And then he was like, oh, my partners are just going to show up, you know, they're just going to be here. And I was like, I bet by the time we have this conference, they're going to come. So on their own dime, the other 2 chefs, and we're going to have, Cheryl's going to introduce them. But we are so appreciative for them all coming here. They are the energetic center of this summit. So I'm going to pass it off to Cheryl to introduce the chefs from Bacoa.
Hi everyone, it's nice to see you all today again. Today I'm here to introduce you to the chef owners behind an incredible restaurant in Puerto Rico, Bacoa, which has been named one of the best restaurants in America by the BBC and the New York Times. Raul Correa, Xavier Pacheco, and Rene Marichal. At Bacoa, which is located around 45 kilometers from San Juan in a town called Juncos, the chefs follow a literal farm-to-table concept owing to their location in the countryside. They have their own vegetable garden, greenhouse, chicken coop, and a lake where they wholly champion Puerto Rico's rich culinary heritage. For instance, they practice wood-fire cooking methods rooted in pre-colonial traditions, and they cook as much as possible with local ingredients, mostly from their own or neighboring farms. This is actually a rarity in Puerto Rico, as 80% of their ingredients are still being imported. The chefs, though, are at the forefront of changing this, working towards a movement to make Puerto Rican food with Puerto Rican ingredients. I had the chance to dine at Bacoa a couple of years ago, and it truly was a special dining experience. Raul, Xavier, and Rene are so welcoming, they make diners feel like Bacoa is their home too. And the dishes are so good. Fresh seasonal ingredients treated so well with so much flavor. I remember one of our favorite dishes was this gorgeous roasted pumpkin topped with cashew ricotta, and no one in our group was vegan or vegetarian. And also these incredible wood-fired cucumbers, which the chefs will be teaching us how to make today, along with a beautiful salted cod with root vegetables. So take it away, chefs.
Hi everybody, and thank you for having us. Espero que la mayoría de ustedes hablen español o pongan the closed caption because this is going to be in a Spanish class, so hopefully everybody understand, right? Now to the serious part. Hey, we're going to do today charred cucumber. We probably 70% of the whole restaurant or kitchen is wood fire, so we try to incorporate as much as we can. So we're going to start right away. So we have here some charred corn, and the whole idea is to try to smoke and barely cook the cucumber. After that process, we're going to end up having something like this. What do you do with the charred skin? You take it away, and then you can dehydrate it and make some like a smoke powder, and you can use it in some other vegetable or stock or whatever. So we also at the same time try not to waste many of whatever we are working on and taking advantage of that. In the meantime, we're going to do a vinaigrette, and our vinaigrette is going to be very simple. Let me look for that. Right here. No, una olla. Okay, right here. So, in Puerto Rico, we don't do like French food or nothing. We do our style. We don't try to pretend to be somebody else. We try to be comfortable with who we are. So we call this vinaigrette, but at the same time, you can call it whatever. You can call it a sauce or something. So we're just going to add a bunch of ingredients: olive oil, white soy sauce,
Or shoyu.
Vinegar, any type of vinegar that you like. It have like an Asian kind of feeling, and Also, we're going to add a little bit of coconut sugar. Why coconut sugar? Because we like it better. It's not like something that, you can make it yourself. We got some diced shallot.
And hey, we are from the Caribbean, so why not coconut? Yeah.
All these beautiful brunoise, or you call them small dice. That was Rene. I don't have that skill. He's the skilled one, and just like to talk. And then you cook it. So it's gonna be like a vinaigrette emulsified. At the end of that, well, now if you want to, what we do is like incorporate, but in other bowl, what we do is like we boil a little bit of mustard seed. After this, it cooks like for 10 minutes. We drain it, and you add the pumpkin seeds, the mustard seed, and you will end up having this beautiful vinaigrette. Sorry, it has also ginger. It have ginger, it have lemon juice. You can add any kind of citrus peel, and then you drain it, and you have this. So Renee is just slicing right now. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I don't know other way to speak.
He's always going fast.
I'm always doing fast. So,
Like Ricky Bobby.
so what we're doing here,
You okay, chef?
yeah. Fun fact about our restaurant, the Cherry was mentioned, we try to buy as much local, but we are so lucky enough to have please Google the restaurant Bacoa. It's beautiful. It have countryside, you have a lake. But at the same time, we have many providers around us. We have, our rabbit provider is from there, goat, and many other vegetables. So we have this goat lady that lives like probably 5 minutes walking distance, and she made this beautiful goat cheese. Very sharp. It's not like the sherbet one. It's like more creamy.
Like a chevere.
Like a sherbet?
Yep.
Is that the right spelling?
Yes.
Sherbet in Spanish means buena gente, which it means like good people.
Yep. It is.
So, like I say, it was like a Spanish class also. And just in case, if you happen to be around, we're hosting a dinner on Saturday.
Yes.
If you want to please come by, it will be nice to see familiar faces.
You can miss it. We're gonna roast some whole pigs, like Puerto Rican style. It's gonna be amazing.
And then we put a lot of the vinaigrette. This is in Puerto Rico, the weather, we have like two weathers, summer and summer. It's always hot. It's always hot, it's humid, it's nice. So you can go to the beach, you can go to the river all year round. And then you can start just, with your hand, spreading a little bit of cheese.
It looks beautiful, chef.
Thank you. No more beautiful than you are. And listen, something else that I want to add is I don't know if like, I'm not too familiar with that. And then we add then a few furikake. The reason why furikake, because sesame, we love sesame. We have, sesame in the island. So yeah, this is the dish.
Okay.
Something that I want to add on before I can keep continuing and pass to Xavier. The reason that we're here, and thank you for that nice introduction, we are friends for like forever. And when we have the opportunity to open Bacoa, it was like a dream come true. It was like, you know what, we're going to do it together. And from that day on, all the business that we are doing, we have a restaurant. Rene have two other restaurants, Xavier too, and be by myself with other social partners. But we're so happy working together there. Right now, we all just opened a new place called Aldeana, which is in Sidra, also to the few minutes from Bacoa in the center of the island. And our business model is based on friendship. We are not going to do nothing ever that affect our friendship. We can disagree, we can fight, but at the same time, we fight. Yeah, we just did it this morning. for no reason, to make it spicy.
Hey, so remember that we're Puerto Rican, so we're loud. We're born loud, so.
So I just want to add on because I believe when people arrive to our restaurant, it feels like, friendship, and it feels very warm. So, and we love to do that. Oh, sorry, the one thing that also we add to the vinaigrette is we call this herb that, when you end up, I would love you to smell it. It's called recao, and have this beautiful aroma. And also cilantro. We use a lot of cilantro, recao. And this is the base from our sofrito. We put sofrito in many things, like onion, garlic, cilantro, and recao, and spiced pepper. I mean, a local sweet pepper that is called ají. So
Ají dulce.
Xavier is going to show you another plant-forward dish that is called serenata de bacalao, and he will tell you the history around that.
Yes, a big round of applause to
Yeah.
please. Good job, good job.
Good chef.
So, really, really, really thank you to the CIA team for giving us the opportunity to be here and present our cuisine. Definitely, to understand gastronomy, we gotta learn about history, and we gotta learn about what have happened in the scene of a place, right? We are an island, 135, a small island in the Caribbean. Yes, we are U.S. citizens. Yes, we are a colony. We have been a colony for more than 70 years. And yes, we have excellent gastronomy. We were conquered in the 1500s by the Spaniards, and they brought African people. So we in the Caribbean and Puerto Rico, including Puerto Rico, we have like an 85% of African heritage in our gastronomy. Most of our gastronomy is black-driven or come from Africa. Spanish people live a lot of things. That's why this plate is something that is really classic in Puerto Rico. It was a peasant dish. Right now, it's a luxury because bacalao is cod, and cod is really expensive right now. Being an island and having fish is an irony that we gotta have salted cod, but we didn't have a fishing industry. So the Spaniards, when they came, they brought their salted cod. And why is vegetable driven? Because we literally boil, in this part we confit the root vegetables, any type of root vegetable. It can be bananas also, that is a fruit. And then we do a little salad with some of the protein that's going to be the egg, and it's going to be the salted cod. Okay? You understood a little bit? Yeah? So, serenata de bacalao, like I told you, is a mix of root vegetables. In this case, we confit some batata, that is a sweet potato. We have some taro root. And we're simply, like I told you, we're going to mix.
We call it malanga.
And malanga, yeah, in this case it's malanga. We confit and we roast also. We first confit, and then we kind of charred tomatoes and some garlic, and that's going to be part of our vinaigrette. Okay? For the cod, we covered the cod with some milk. Wild milk is going to dissolve the salt, and the lactose, and it's going to help rehydrate. So you're going to have, instead of simply water, because you're going to unsalt and water, instead of boiling it, we're going to unsalt it, and then we're going to confit it. So we're going to cook it in oil. Oil, we infuse it with a little bit of cinnamon, some lime leaves, some bay leaves, and it's going to finish like this. Where's the camera?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
You can
just
see
leave it
it?
here, yeah.
Leave it here? Okay.
Following.
So we're going to confit just a little boil, and then you let it rest, and it's going to finish cooking the fish. So I have some, I can take this one.
That's this.
Simply, we want to flake it. We want to leave it apart just for presentation. We usually, this is a classic dish for Holy Friday. I had the opportunity to do this dish with Anthony Bourdain when, before he passed away. He went to Puerto Rico in 2018. So it was Passover, so we cooked this for him. We're going to put some onion in this part. We simply roast it. See, we have live fire. We roast it just for flavor. And a little twist we're going to do. We're going to take some roasted pumpkin. One part, the roasted pumpkin, 2 parts cream. And we're going to then we blend it.
Shake.
¿Cómo se dice por ahí? We
Strain
strain
it.
it. Then we strain it, and you have like a cream. And that we're going to put on a creamer,
Chef,
and we're
you-
going to do a foam.
You can
That's
do Spanish. They have the closed caption on.
There. So, like I told you, we're going to have some avocado also on the salad. And we're gonna put some of the recao and cilantro. That's classic in our cuisine. And the vinaigrette is gonna be the oil we use to confit the cod with some citric. It can be lemon, lime, oranges, whatever you have. If not, you can use any type of vinegar. In this case, it's going to be 2 parts. It's a classic vinaigrette, 2 parts oil, 1 part the acid. Really, really important to let this marinate at least for a day. It's going to be pretty, at least my grandpa, usually in Holy Week, he cooked it like a week before and he left it in top of the fridge. So it cures and it has a really nice flavor. So we're going to add some of the avocado in the same pieces, the same size we have the root vegetables. So, and we're gonna mix everything together.
This is a very humble dish at the same time.
It is.
You know, you can find in many, like we call fondas, which probably will be the version of bistros. And this is a dish, if you're lucky enough to have money, you have it on Friday, and and you have fun. And for some reason, it tastes better on Fridays. So don't ask me why.
It's true. So we're gonna, classically, you put the boiled root vegetables, the avocado, and simply on top you put the salad. In this case, we're gonna, so I can be called a gastronomic artist, I'm gonna put it on the side.
So, you're gonna refine the dish a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna put the cut salad. Yes, it's always gonna be a little bit salty, so we try to balance everything with that amount of salt you put in the root vegetables, the avocado. That's why you haven't seen me put some more salt, because the salt, it always is gonna be on the cod. Important, don't over on salt the cod. It's pretty, it's a pretty instrument on the palate. So it tastes like it has to be. Then we put a creamer. We put it here. We mix it well.
What is the sound again? The didn't.
Okay. You practice here. We're gonna have also the serenata is served with a boiled egg. In this part, we just simply separated the yolk from the egg white. So we're gonna put some of the egg here. Some of the yolk. Gonna clean before Raul starts saying me that it's too dirty, the plate. We're gonna put some of the foam. Some of the foam. Some flowers. We decorate a lot of flowers. We have a lot of flowers in our garden. Touch of flowers. And a lot of love.
And the avocado.
No, the avocado is on the salad.
Okay.
So here you have an interpretation of serenata. The foam is, like I told you, is some roasted pumpkin and
Calabaza.
Yeah. Thank you. And you gotta travel to Puerto Rico so you can have the experience to taste this.
And you're gonna try it when you leave, in the tasting. You're gonna have some of it. Yes. So, any question, guys?
Talk to us. Questions?
Questions. First, we have an audience question. It says, Raquel, also called culantro on the web, smells a lot like cilantro. Can you tell us more about why you use both herbs together?
Well, for us, culantro is like the foundation of the staple of our sofrito. Culantro is more pungent. Culantro is more pungent than cilantro. And when you balance it with the cilantro, give you like this kind of feel aromatic in your nose and your palate that it's gonna blow you out. Yeah.
It's like a combination of cilantro and a touch of oregano. It's like that combination. Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask you about your mission to be part of this food system where you are working with and are part of an ecosystem of people who are producing local products. What does that look like? What was your initial interest in that? And because in some ways you're really building this with these folks from the ground up. And so one of the things that we do with this summit is to look at people at all sort of backgrounds, whether it's fine dining chefs to high volume food service to people who are sort of the ideal of operations that are doing things sustainably to chefs like yourself where you're really having to build this from the ground up. So can you talk more about why you're passionate about doing that, what that looks like, what sort of challenges you face, how you're overcoming things, what opportunities there? We'd just love to know more about that.
Well, we were inspired, at least I'm talking about myself. I was inspired when I did my internship in Spain. I lived in Spain for a year, and I learned the farm-to-table movement. So, and yes, we are really Puerto Ricans. That includes the three of us. So we are really proud of our cuisine. And one of the things that inspired us to cook every day is that we want to know the world that we have an awesome kitchen. That is not simply fried food or it's a turnover. We do a lot of composition. We have a lot of flavors. And to build that, definitely we need some good product. We are on an island. We have a law that is the Jones Act that we gotta buy from the States or the United States directly, so we cannot do the negotiations with other places. Just if they go through the States, yes. If not, we can't. So the best part is that we start producing ourselves some product. That's why we farm in our place, but we also help other
Farmers
other
farmers around the island, yeah.
So they can build up. So yes, it's really hard. It costs more than maybe buying something from Nicaragua, Mexico, or whatever place. But yes, we started a movement. We did start a movement. We have other chefs that are doing it. We have a lot of new farmers working around that. We fight every day to see if the government helps the community, the culinary community to keep working. So I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, adding on before our relation with the U.S., we used to have an agriculture. And we used to have a rich agriculture, probably not as advanced as it is right now. But adding to that, we're having a new seeds of young agriculture in the island.
Yes.
Doing amazing stuff. But the same thing, even for buying seeds, we need to ask, and it's kind of challenging. So when you go into the island and people say, it could be expensive in some ways, well, you need to understand why. And why is the reason that we try to push. Like, for even workers, right now we're having a hard time, and probably, I know in the U.S., having a hard time, hiring staff. But at the same time, if you're here, you can go through the side in Arizona, wherever, and you can bring people here. To the island, it's not the same. I mean, even though that we require U.S. passports and everything, you need to go in the plane and come here to work with us, So it's like, it's challenging, but at the same time, we're having so much fun trying to figure it out, how can we become and do better.
And we'll make it happen.
Oh, yeah,
we'll
definitely.
make it happen.
Yes.
I love that enthusiasm and that drive. I also wanted to ask along those lines, reading about your restaurant, reading reviews, you managed to both be super buzzy. As Cheryl mentioned, you got the nod with the New York Times list. The BBC came out. Chef Lucas Sin I read an article about him taking like a taxi or something for an hour to get to your restaurant. So you've got that sort of buzzy credibility there. But then what people talk about is also how this is really regular people, everyday people, your neighbors, the people in your community also come to your restaurant, and that it feels like it's a space where people feel welcome and comfortable. And so how do you do that? Because I think for a lot of the things that we talk about here at the CIA, we have people that come in for fine dining and talk about those techniques, and sometimes there's that, and I know we've had these questions so far about how you translate what you're doing to the people that are in your community.
Well, I think we like to maintain things very casual. Our place is built inside a farm. It's open. It's not tablecloths or nothing. It's just very humble. We cook over a wood fire grill, wood fire bureng, and we just showcase what we have been learning about the years of education and travel and tasting food and everything. And we're taking this into us and reflecting in our plates, in our dishes. But we like to maintain it very casual and very humble, like I told you, because for us to eat food is to gather around our family and, hey, have a good conversation, have a good plate, a good dish, and, enjoy the day.
And that's what we are like Puerto Ricans. That's the way we eat in Puerto Rico. We have our style is a family style. That's the dinner that we're gonna do is a family style dinner. So we love to share. Big plates. You share. You eat a lot of things. You try a lot of a lot of plates and flavors, textures.
Yeah.
And we have an excellent team also. We have
Sure.
an awesome team of waiters.
They're back home
and chefs.
running the restaurant right now, so we can be here. So we have an amazing team, yes.
And then the last thing that I wanted to ask, which how embarrassing for me that oh good, we have some, because my question just completely left my brain, but we do have, so I should be using Slido. And let's see, do you see a segue into influencing more local growing to increase Puerto Rican food sovereignty?
What was that?
Do you see a segue into influencing more, do you think what you're doing will influence more local growing and continue to increase Puerto Rican food sovereignty?
It should be, yeah, 100%. That's the only reason that we're trying to do it. Listen, and we always try not to talk about the sad part of our history, but Puerto Rico in the past few years happens to go through a lot, hurricane, earthquake, pandemic. So everything that we do, even though that we're still young, we're trying to pushing forward for the next generation to step it out and do better than even ourselves, We're trying to make an impact, and the way, it's still a business, but that's the way we everything that we do, we do it for a reason, and the reason is to leave an impact in our families, community, and our neighbors, yeah.
And in our industry.
Yeah, and also we're planting the farm. We're putting seeds on the ground, but we also are putting seeds in the minds of these young people that are coming right now, so they can continue our work and continue showcasing our cuisine. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, we started this movement maybe 14, 15 years ago. Our hotels, none of our hotels bought not even orange from any local farmer. Now, most of the hotels in Puerto Rico are buying from local farmers. So we had 3 or 4 big farms. Now we have maybe 100. So steps by step, small steps. We have many things against us. Political realities. It's not that we don't appreciate what we have had in the past. No, it's not that. It's simply we are focusing on concentrating in ourselves because we lived it.
And
we lived it with Maria. In Maria, we were maybe 6 months without food. Why? Because there were no access to the island, and we were blasted by a hurricane. So yes, we gotta think about that. We gotta learn about the past, and we gotta definitely roll up our chef coats and maybe hang them on and go outside and make it happen if we want to change. So that's part of our mission.
And along those lines, someone has asked about education, and specifically, how do you educate customers about what you're doing, and how much or little of this do you commit to? But I think also, too, that would be appropriate to, the vendors and the other, your fellow chefs and things like that. That idea of when are you educating, when are you just feeding, when are you just here's this thing, we hope you love it. What does that look like for you?
Well, like I said in the beginning, we're not trying to be nobody else. We are very happy with our own skin of who we are, and we do what we do. We taste it, we like it, and we share with you. And at the same time, we explain why we do things and the reason why we don't do things, you know. But I think also it comes very natural as a Puerto Rican, you know. Something inviting people. One of the best thing of Maria is they brought the best thing from us, from all of us, you know. You didn't have no light or electricity, you shared what you have with the neighbor. So, you know, like we do that very often with almost everything. It's a community that likes to help, educate, and we like to talk for some reason, as you can see.
That I'm not surprised about.
Another thing that is really important is that also that Puerto Rican cuisine, and it's a statement we want to make, that like everything evolves, gastronomy evolves. And Puerto Rican cuisine has evolved. Now we are not simply Puerto Ricans that come from the Spaniards, from the Tainos, and the Africans. We have Lebanese people, we have Chinese, we have Mexican people that now they have generation of Puerto Ricans. But they have
And
other
they
cultures,
influence
and they
us.
have brought that culture to Puerto Rico. And when you sit in your house, you can have a taquito with the roasted pork we're gonna do, and maybe some serenata de bacalao. So you have a combination of things, and so the evolution of our cuisine is going like it's happening in the States, like it happens in Mexico, like it happened in Europe, in China, and everywhere. So that's part of our mission, right? So to definitely give a seat to the industry. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And I was going to ask you about dispelling myths about, or, you know, what you wanted people to know about Puerto Rican cuisine. So that was nice that came around. I will also say, if you have Apple TV, you all were featured in John Leguizamo has a show, and he came to Puerto Rico and was able to show the rich diversity in the cuisine and culture that's going on there. And I thought it was a great show, but I also kudos to you guys because you did really good there. And Evan, if you can put up that slide.
Oh, nice.
There you go. So a great photo there too. And we'll just say that if you're here on Saturday, this is going to be a fantastic dinner. We'd love to have you join us. Tickets are still available. We are going on to our lunch, and the salted codfish with root vegetables, the serenata de bacalao, will be served there. So that's very exciting. And also wanted to say that we'll also have tastings from Oatly, California Walnut Board and Commission, and U.S. Soy. Priyanka Naik will be signing her cookbook, The Modern Tiffin. And we'll meet back here in Ecolab at 1 p.m. for a special discussion on driving regenerative agriculture. But let's give Raul and Javier and Renee a round of applause.
This vegan grilled squash banh mi is a delicious twist on a traditional Vietnamese banh mi sandwich. In this plant-based version, marinated and grilled butternut squash takes center stage. Paired with pickled vegetables and fresh herbs, it's no wonder this is one of the world's most beloved sandwiches. To start, let's make our pickled vegetables. Dissolve sugar in rice vinegar. Add some julienne daikon and carrots. Cover and let this marinate for 12 to 24 hours. Remove the vegetables from the pickling liquid and set aside. Now for the squash. Here, I have sliced squash that's been marinated in a mixture of soy sauce, vegan fish sauce, and Knorr Professional Liquid Concentrated Vegetable Base for an extra pop of umami flavor. Next, grill the marinated squash until tender. Keep hot. Now we're ready to assemble our sandwich. Spread each side of a French roll with some creamy Hellmann's vegan mayo. Build the sandwich by adding slices of the grilled squash, sliced cucumber, our pickled vegetables, sliced jalapenos, and a mixture of herbs. Here, I have Thai basil leaves, mint leaves, and cilantro. Add the top of the French roll, slice in half, and serve. The smoky and sweet grilled butternut squash. tangy pickles and refreshing herbs are such a delicious combination. Made with Knorr Professional Liquid Concentrated Vegetable Base and Hellmann's Vegan Mayo, this hearty sandwich is a great vegan option to add to your menu.